Man, we're kicking off the new year by being annoying. We've made so many videos about this topic, but I feel like with yesterday's, second period intermission report from the Hockey Night in Canada crew with Ron McLean, Kelly Hrudey, Elliot Friedman, and Kevin Bieksa, we had ourselves a pretty interesting conversation going on about one JT Miller. And we're beating a dead horse by making this video. It's old when we make a video like this. We've made 10 videos already in this same vein, but I wanted to go out there and just address some of the things that were talked about, because obviously I read the comments sometimes, like I see what y'all are talking about when it comes to JT and the way his work ethic is. Should he not have yelled at Delia? Was it a good thing, bad thing? I was kind of on the side of, you could understand that his frustration was there, but at the same time, taking it out on your teammate like that, okay, that's probably not the best way to go about it, but Miller is a competitive dude. We know this, and it's been like this for a long time, where even in the Northern Canadian division, you'd find the mic'd up audio of the players on the ice a lot more audible because there's no crowd. You would hear Miller swearing a lot more. You'd hear him banging the stick on the boards a lot more. You would see the desire to win come across in this guy's body language and what he would say. It was a very noticeable trait, and so when Vancouver re-signed Miller to that 7-year extension, which starts in 2023-2024, we all kind of knew what to expect. However, in the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast, they went out there and pretty much spent the 2-minute segment talking about how Miller doesn't backcheck. And, look, you can't go out there and defend that. Oh, you say that it's okay that he's yelling at Colin Delia? Well, is it okay that he goes out there and doesn't really hustle to get back into play when Elias Lindholm has a 2-on-1 with, I believe, Tyler Myers as the man back? I talked about Miller last night in the post-game video saying, hey, he was the guy covering at the point, yet he decided to pinch down. Okay, that's the wrong move, and he doesn't get back either. Like, he has the right to try to make the play on the boards, but the fact that he just kind of stays out of the play for the remainder of the clip, that's the problem. And Kelly Hrudey goes out there and says the same thing. There's a camera from the perspective from behind the Canucks net that is shown, and you can see, if you zoom in a little bit, that Miller doesn't really move. He's kind of gliding. He's taking a little bit of a tired lap as he tries to get back into the play in his back check. And then there's the other goal that was scored where Miller's the guy on the turnover, and then they show him going off on the change, also in a pretty slow and lazily kind of manner. Now, the second one was not as bad as the first one, but it was still kind of there, and Friedman ended up making the point that, hey, this is not the first time the Vancouver Canucks have seen this, and now, with the conundrum with their centers, because Bo Horvat is an expiring guy who needs a contract, this entire thing becomes a little bit of a questionable decision. Kevin Bieksa then goes out there and says that he was kind of okay with the competitiveness that was shown in the Colin Delia clip. How sometimes your desire to win is just so strong that you end up taking it out on the people around you that are on your team. He understands that. But he said that he could not defend this particular play. How players that really go out there and hammer the point home towards their teammates don't really have the right to do that when they're on ice plays like that. Like, we saw a lot of satirical tweets, people poking fun at the JT Miller Colin Delia situation, saying, oh, JT should be yelling at himself for going minus whatever on the season, for giving up the puck and giving up turnovers and everything. Like, why are you getting mad at Delia when you are not a player that is worthy of being put in that position? Like, okay, it's one thing to get ticked off at a guy when you're not good, but it's another thing to get ticked off at a guy when you frequently just don't backcheck, and the effort isn't there. Friedman is right in that we've seen this a lot out of JT over the past few years, that even though he can get frustrated and he's got a bad game or whatever, he lets that sort of seep into the rest of how he plays, and there's a lot of comments on the subreddit that I wanted to talk about as well. Hockey Night in Canada roasting Miller on national television for 2 minutes straight, version 2, published by Paper Moonshine earlier yesterday. A lot of the comments go over how, they should strip him of the A. Why does he wear an A? There was an article on the Hockey Writer saying that he should be stripped of the A. And, Miller said himself that he doesn't care about what people have to say if they're not in the locker room. So, therefore, all the social media stuff, all the guys on television, all the people on Twitter, he doesn't care what we have to say because we're not in the locker room, which is okay. Totally his prerogative to shut out the criticism, etc. from the outside world. But, at the same time, because he does not care, that gives me and you and everybody else on Twitter more rights to talk about it in a way that may seem a bit more negative, because he said he doesn't care. It's fine. So if you go over to a lot of the comments here, they all say that he should be stripped of the A, etc., like, whatever. What I wanted to talk about, though, was Spectrefire's comment here. It's obvious Kevin Bieksa won't defend that, considering he's basically played his entire career with Ryan Kesler. Kesler and Miller are the same kind of curmudgeonly okay on the ice, but the main difference is that Kesler backs up his attitude and talk with his play. And the replying comments go over some pretty cool points as well. Kevin Bieksa said this about Edler in an Athletic article: "The best mentors and the best leaders are the ones that don't even know that they're doing it. Just because they have such good habits and they do everything so well. You just want to follow them and be like them." Kesler once talked about the competition he had with Henrik Sedin to be the #1 center. Kesler believed he had what it took to be #1, but Hank still outworked and outperformed him, driving Kes to just keep playing harder and improving his game. Kesler also owned up to all his mistakes on the ice, especially in relation to how it impacted his teammates. You never questioned Kessler's work ethic. He was a beast at both ends of the ice. And part of the reason why I'm making this video is because a few months ago, I made a video talking about Miller and Kesler and how they both kind of were in the same boat. American dudes who had an attitude, who produced a lot of points, and who were second-line centers on their teams. There's a lot more than that, but that was pretty much the main thing that I wanted to talk about. And I get a lot of feedback in the comments once in a while that really does kind of enlighten me. And this one video was one where I saw a lot of comments saying, hey, I mean, it makes sense why you made this comparison. These statistical profiles of points and nationality and status on the team, it kind of aligns, but the play styles are a lot different. Miller, when he tries, is a pretty good playmaker for the team, and he's able to create offense by passing the puck around, and there's PD and Hughes who facilitate the play as well, and as we had said, Miller is every second pass, which is how he's able to get so many points. And he has a pretty good sniping ability too. You don't see it as much, but it's kind of there. Ryan Kesler, meanwhile, was a legitimate monster, and you could definitely see that at both ends of the ice, he put in a ton of effort every single shift. He won face-offs, he could win along the boards, he was gritty, he had an attitude, and he could score points. He could snipe it as well. The snipe was actually more of a primary tool he had towards the end. I mean, like, if you look at Kessler's 40-goal year and you look at all the goals that he had scored, there were a lot of snipes. From, like, the blue line on the rush, he was an absolute machine in terms of putting the puck in the back of the net. And more so, it was the work ethic that would be the main difference between these two guys. How Miller, I mean, look, we see the back checks, we see the clips, we know that it happens, it's there, exhibits a completely different type of competitive nature than Kesler does, because I feel like when Kesler got angry, when Kesler got upset at the situation, he played better. Like, he was more in tune with the game, and he was more intense, and he was a little bit more tough to beat on the battles, and he would be more pushy. Miller just kind of gives up. And I don't know if that's the type of quality that you want to have in a leader in the locker room, and I don't know what it's like in the locker room either. Like, for all I know, Miller could be given the best pep talks out there in between periods. We know the Final Countdown video where he read out the lines against St. Louis Blues in Game 6 or whatever in the bubble? Like, that was a cool video. Like, maybe he does that every game. Who knows? But, like, just from what we have seen on the ice, it's not great. And the Hockey Night in Canada folk went out there and talked about it because of it. So, tell me in the comments your thoughts about this, I guess. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but if you have anything else to add, then feel free to use the comment section as your floor. I'm sure you will get many replies. Miller, at the end of the month, had himself a pretty bad December, all things considered. 2 goals, 4 assists, and a -6 in 13 games. So 6 points in 13 games, a rough pace of about 30-something-ish points. Not the best, but it's also compiled with the off-puck stuff, too. I hope you enjoyed this video, Juraj 99, and bye.